right, so this is just us getting started. Airplane. I think you're showing me just some of the controls at this point.
Yeah, so this one here, one of the biggest things that people have trouble with is like, I don't know how to set my seat the right height. Yeah. That's half the battle. I mean, if you can't see outside, how are you supposed to use the visuals that were literally the foundation of that first flight? So I think that one there, we're going through how to adjust the seat in terms of height. You'll see me explaining with the hands kind of moving back and forth. We're talking about the rudders. The rudders yaw the airplane, or think like a lighthouse, how the light kind of turns left, goes all the way around, or maybe like a tank turret. If there's anybody that's military watching or something like that, it yaws it. It's a left and right lateral movement. And that's the purpose of the rudders. Those rudders are two-part. That's how you also operate the brakes, if you step on the tops of the pedals.
Yeah, one of the things that when you were explaining the rudders, I thought it was just a in the air thing. Like it just controls it at any time,
Yeah, definitely more effective in the air, right? That's kind of, like you said, that's where you're making that association from. But when we're talking about that discovery flight with Learn to Fly, I remember we landed. And she's like, all right, go ahead and taxi back. And she was awesome. We ended up flying with her. Her name was Ro. I don't think she still teaches down there, but remember we were coming off this taxiway and it's this T intersection and we're supposed to go left. And I'm like, okay, I steer with the yoke. I steer with the steering wheel. That is not how you steer an airplane. And you know that now.
Yeah.
So she's like, go left. And I turn left. I'm like, I'm going left. She's like, no, you're not. Go left. And so she's like, step on the rudder. I was like, oh. So now I really make an emphasis, especially on the first flight, of like, you do not steer on the ground with your hands.
Yeah.
So it's always funny to see how things come back up.
Yeah, and I think part of it is you want to use that yoke to be able to control more on the ground, and you just can't.
It's normal. It's instinctual.
Yeah.
You do that every day in your car. It's just now we're going to completely flip the script.
Yeah. I think we're about to take off on this. We were just waiting behind a couple of planes.
Yep. So this one here, again, something that's different than driving your car. When's the last time before every time you went to Walmart, Target, wherever you go, that you checked your oil, your brake fluids, your tires, your tread, your brake lines, all of your lights, your seat belts, your windows, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
In an airplane, that can't not happen because you can't just pull over to the side and stop. If there's an issue and the engine stops, the plane's still going to fly. So you got to make sure this is your last opportunity to make sure everything's functioning to make that final go or no-go decision.
Yeah, I guess like you don't think of that in everyday life, but you're up in the air now. If something does happen, it's crucial. Or you go back to why, it's happening. You can start to figure it out.
Yeah, because you're going to come down eventually. You can't not.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's just on your terms,
You put that on your website.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully it's on your terms.
I don't know if that would make a customer comfortable or not.
Okay, let's tell the audience what's going on here, because you're using a lot of visuals to let me know how I'm doing flying.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest things with private pilots, right? You're in a new airplane. There's a lot of things to look at, a lot of buttons, a lot of gauges. Honestly, the easiest way to fly the airplane is just look out the window. Think about how you drive your car. You're looking out the window and you're referencing your speed. You're referencing, the RPMs. You're referencing a gas gauge, but your eyes are right back out in the window on the road ahead of you, to the left of you, to the right of you. The same is true for an airplane, and it has to be. So what we're using is what we call the horizon line, or like a reference line, basically where that sky touches the land, whether it's sky to the ocean, sky to the ground, mountains, whatever. It's just a reference point. So what we're doing now is we're going into banked turns left and right, and we're finding points on the dashboard to reference that horizon line. So if you make this reference point touch that horizon line, it'll be a level turn. You're not going to go up in the turn. You're not going to go down. It'll just slice through the horizon as if you were kind of tearing a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And we do that for the left and right. And the same is true when you start to climb and descend. It's the same thing. You're just associating reference points with a visual cue.
Yeah, it's, the discussion prior to the flight, pre-flight, where Tim was able to show me what it could potentially look like for those horizon points really made it easier for me to feel comfortable, one, and two, understand what was going on, because I was like, oh, this matches what we were shown before. So I think you can see right here where the horizon's touching on the one side of the dashboard.
Yeah, you can see it's just above the compass right there in the middle. I mean, from this point of view, for you it looked different, for me it looked different, but just as a general reference for the audience, you can see how that reference, that horizon line, is just right where that compass touches the dashboard. And you're essentially tracing that reference line with that component, and you're not climbing, well, you are a little bit, but but really you're not, having a major altitude change. And this was, I think, maybe within 30 minutes of the flight, that you're already making level turns and climbs and descents.
Yeah, I think once after you make the first turn, I felt more confident in what was happening.
Yeah.
I feel like we were going to crash anymore.
Well, that's good. I guess I did something right then.
As a seasoned pilot, how often are you using instruments to check and gauge where you are?
That's a great question. And it changes. It changes daily. It depends on what you're doing. I don't know if we were on a break or not when you mentioned this, but it's just like driving a car, right? Like when you get in there the first time, you're really worrying like, oh, I don't want to speed. I don't want to get pulled over. I just got my license. But then how often do you really reference your speed now? Maybe a quick glance and you're back outside. Yeah. The same is true with an airplane. So on a blue sky kind of day, we're going to set our power. We're going to set our airspeed via pitch. We're going to turn to a heading. Just a quick reference. Am I there? Yeah. Okay. I'm back outside looking for other airplanes. Now, if it's like how it was today, not in the video, but it's overcast at 1,300 feet and it's a 2,000 foot layer of clouds, you got nothing to look at outside.
Yeah.
So you might as well look inside because it's your only way that you're going to be able to fly and operate that plane. And then it really does become an emphasis of different instruments dependent upon what you're doing, whether you're climbing, turning, descending, and even how you're navigating.
Yeah, well, I will say that I was super concentrated on it because for those of you that haven't done it, and whenever you do it for the first time, it feels like you have power, and it also feels like you don't have power. Like this control and no control at the same time. So I don't know how to describe it, but to be able to do that, and then you're like, oh, I can control this, and then it feels like, well, we're up in the air, so I shouldn't be able to control this. So I don't know.
And that's kind of a prime example. Like when I said earlier, like get uncomfortable or get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's new. It's a challenge, right? You're going to be in situations where you're like, we shouldn't be floating in the air with this engine attached to this metal frame. It becomes more natural, right? People are inherently afraid of smaller airplanes for one reason or another. There is so much redundancy built in these airplanes, arguably more than your car. So even if this engine stopped in the video, we still have wings, right? We're not going to fall out of the sky. Yeah. But there are so many inspections and checks and balances. I mean, you saw it, right? We did the run-up. We checked everything before we even started the plane, before we even took off. Yeah. So we're mitigating risk before that flight even starts. And that's just something that doesn't happen in a motor vehicle like your normal car.
Yeah, that was one of the things that, Tim made a point that there's always safety for something that if this happens, well, this is always a backup to help, stop it.
Yeah, there's a number of different systems. And there's airplanes built, there's redundancy built in for that exact reason.
Yeah, and I think, we were just looking through all the gauges and everything, and I remember at that point, that's a time where I was finally looking at it and go, oh, I forgot there were things here. Like I forgot there were things you were supposed to look at.
You know, honestly, that just means you're doing it the right way. As this was your first flight,
Yeah.
training for a private pilot, a VFR pilot, you should be mainly looking outside.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get distracted by the gauges, the switches, the buttons, the knobs, you know, the touchscreen GPS systems. It's like, you don't need that. Just look outside.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I think when you were coming back to land, I felt like, and I don't know if this is just me or I'm doing it correctly, but I felt like now was the time to just make sure things were, you know, you were level, your speed, your altitude. I think I felt like they mattered more when you're about to hit ground.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's considered one of those critical phases of flight. One, when you're taxiing on the ground, you're driving up to the runway. Two, when you're taking off, because obviously if something stops, you don't have a lot of time. You're maybe less than 1,000 feet, which sounds like a lot. It's really not. You know, and then when you come back into land. So you'll see at different points in the video where I'm maybe either glancing on an iPad looking at a checklist or have the physical checklist. It's making sure that little things, you know, we don't become complacent, that there is that checks and balance, that things are getting done the right way every time, because there's no room for them to not be.
Yeah. And I think right now you said this one, there was another plane that was in the area and we were just waiting on them. We were kind of turning, waiting on them, right?
Yeah, so right now we're kind of like a little bit of a descending left turn, just trying to buy some time. I think there was a jet or something coming into Palomar, so we're kind of maybe talking about vertical lift being traded for horizontal lift. And if the viewers were to go back, you'll notice that right now we're not descending if you're familiar with those instruments, whereas we were a second ago. So this is just re-emphasizing that when you turn, everything costs something. So yeah, you can turn, but it's going to cost you lift.
Yeah.
And to fix the lift, it's going to cost you more power, or it's going to cost you more pitch to compensate for that. So you don't go down.
Well, that's a great way to explain it, because it almost, I feel like when you're new and you're flying, like I wasn't even thinking of things meaning anything to something else. But now that you're bringing it up that way, I feel like if you start to get that in your head over and over again, you're like, oh, I need to do this in order to do this, or I'm giving this up. That's great.
And that's part of that ground knowledge, that theory that I was saying, hey, I really wish it was a requirement that the ground school be done before you even get in the airplane, because you're already drawing on that information. But I get it. Flying the airplanes is the fun part. Reading a book is not.
Yeah.
We're doing, online schooling. It's not. I get that.
All right. I think this is where heading back down.
I think we're still over Vista, about to head back in.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is also positioning to get back into the airport. Just kind of, I think as a passenger, you just think it happens, but you have to be a little strategic about it.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about aviation too, is it's not as simple as just, okay, I find just a giant piece of tarmac, I give it a bunch of power, and I pull up, and voila, we're in the sky.
Yeah.
That's the farthest thing from the truth. There's so many more layers to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, that layered approach is what makes aviation one of the safest methods of transportation to date.
Yeah.
Getting out of Palomar, we're talking to at least two different people. It's not just, oh yeah, I'm just going to go fly a plane today.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
It's a team effort.
All right. That's cool. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.